Okay, so I think we'll start. Some people are still dropping in. So welcome back to this second evening with teachings Tenzin Rinpoche on this topic of introduction to Buddhism through the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa. Yes, I gave a brief bio of Rinpoche yesterday, so I thought instead, today starting out, I would also like to just give a brief introduction to Geshe Norbu. I think most of you maybe have been here before, but just to just give a little bit of background to the context of being here. So Geshe Norbu is of course part of the FPMT, which is a worldwide organization that was started by Lama Yeshe and Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche back in the 70s. And Lama Yeshe passed away in 1984. I know there's people here who did meet Lama Yeshe.
Lama Yeshe was here.
Yeah, Lama Yeshe was in
83.
Yeah. So within the FPMT, about 140 projects and centers globally. So we have many sister centers across the world, and there are also a lot of teachers that are traveling and teaching. And interestingly, now when Rinpoche came here for what was meant to be a private visit, and then it just exploded into lots of different activities. Today we met with a Catholic cardinal with an interfaith dialogue, and there's been many things just manifesting from Rinpoche's visit. But as a result of Rinpoche coming here, he was also now put on the FPMT's teachers list, so which was fantastic that we could contribute to that, and more centers can benefit from Rinpoche's teaching. And we try to have, there are these two pillars of course, Buddhist practice and teachings, and the other pillar here is also what we call universal ethics or universal education, where we try to bring methods such as meditation and mindfulness and compassion training also to a context where people who not necessarily identify as Buddhist, but really can benefit. Also, you can teach those things in schools and workplaces, and so we try to contribute to both those two areas. And if you feel that there's some kind of connection, or you want to support Geshe Norbu, Geshe Norbu is a non-profit organization, so you can become a member. I think it costs 250 per year or something, so it's a symbolic fee. But if you become a member, then you can contribute, and you can also do the annual meeting and vote and really affect what's happening here. And we always encourage people to just come by, have a cup of tea, chat with us, sit in the gompa, meditate, or whatever. But if you feel some kind of connection, then it's really helpful for the members, or for the non-profit organization, to have supporting members. There's a toilet in the back and one around the corner. And also at about 7 o'clock, I think, there will be a break, and then Henrik, who's standing in the back, is offering a vegan dinner for everyone. So we'll have a break for about 40 minutes to eat together and share a meal, and then the teachings will continue and end at around 9 o'clock. And I don't know, did I forget something in there? Okay. So thank you very much for coming, and enjoy.
Thank you.
mic working? Too high? Not working. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, the mic, is it the mic talking or me? Hello, it seems working. Sorry. Okay, Tashidelek, and good evening to every one of you, and welcome back to the second day of, I call it sharing our ideas and in this discussion. And just to remind, so this happens to be one of the most important occasion for us in many ways, as we discussed yesterday. But if I speak one or two words, so this happens to be the 600th anniversary of passing away of Lama Tsongkhapa. And Lama Tsongkhapa is the founder and the teacher of Geluk tradition, Kadamba tradition. And he's responsible, his teachings and his books and Buddhist literatures were really wonderful and still practiced all over Tibet and India and all over the world. So today I would like to touch a little bit about how Tsongkhapa's style of teaching has impact all over the world. So before that, today we have, as a part of our tradition, a short recitation of the Heart Sutra, and I'm sure you all have this copy in English. So before the Heart Sutra recitation starts, I would like to say about what Heart Sutra is and how it is important to do the recitation today. So generally, when we gather for any kind of teaching or any kind of discussions, so as a part of Lama Tsongkhapa's tradition, we pay the few moments of the initial time for shaping our motivations. So that is very important. Why we are here and what is the purpose. So usually we say that when you attend any kind of lectures, sometimes you attend with a curiosity. Is there something new that I can hear, I haven't heard before? So out of curiosity, you can also come. And sometimes with a wish to know something new, with some new ideas that you might get, or even your own contribution and everything together or through discussions. Because when we as an individuals are limited in some way, because we as an individual, we have only one mind or one way of thinking. But when we collectively share ideas, so that could be benefit for many people. So this could be also one of the motivations that we can generate. But generally, we should be able to generate a more beneficial motivations that my attending this kind of discussions will be a benefit not just to me, but my friends, and so on and so on. So this is just a simple way of shaping your motivations before we start this discussion. And Heart Sutra. So Heart Sutra was one of the most important sutras, and the content of the Heart Sutra actually speaks about emptiness. And emptiness is, of course, a very difficult topic, and sometimes it really doesn't make much sense, but sometimes it makes a lot of sense. So it's, but anyhow, it's very important to study and spend some time and spend some of your precious time and study different texts and listen about it. It's very benefit if we can get any small idea about emptiness. Of course, we will have some discussion about the emptiness. So this short sutra actually tells us about what emptiness is all about, but in a very brief way. So for the beginners, it may not be easy to catch the meaning, but anyway, when you go through the text, when you read it today, so you can visualize or you can think that you're reading a very important text, and for which one day there may be an opportunity to study this text in depth and contemplate the meaning, so which will be beneficial. So that's how, for a very important beginning, so we will do the Heart Sutra recitation together. So I think Serena will lead the recitations, and we can all look at the small booklet that we have. I think it is the bold one, right? No, the phonetic one is in Tibetan. So the bold one, you only have to look at the bold one. So when she leads the reading, everybody can join. Thank you.
I prostrate to Arya Triple Gem.
At one time, dwelling on mass of vultures mountain in Rajagriha together
with the great community
of monks
and the great community of
Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the
categories of phenomena
called profound perception.
Also at that time the Bodhisattva
Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom,
and beheld those five aggregates
so as empty of inherent nature.
Then through the power of
Buddha, the Venerable Buddha said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? And the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Buddha, son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom like this correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five aggregate also as empty of inherent nature. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness.
in the same way
Feeling, discrimination, and positional factors and consciousness are empty.
Shariputra likewise
All phenomena are emptiness without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including element and no mental. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death. Extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. Exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error, they reach mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering. Truth, since it is not false, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tadyata Om Gade Gade Bara Gade Bara Sam Gade Bodhi Soha. Buddha Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Arose from that concentration and commented the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. Profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadadi Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Ava, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of and others were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the. Thank you. So this Heart Sutra recitation. So Heart Sutra is one common text that we have in all the traditions of Buddhism all over the world, be it Theravada traditions or Chinese tradition or Tibetan tradition or Indian tradition. So they all share the same Heart Sutra. There is not much difference. When it comes to the translations, the few words, one or two lines, particular details were missing in Chinese translation, but overall it is same in all the translations. So that shows us that when it comes to the teachings of the Lord Buddha, so as we have a saying that any kind of rivers, so when you look at the origin or the source of the river, ultimately it has go to the snow mountains. So it is the snow mountains from where the water really comes down. So similarly, any kind of teachings of the Buddha, any kind of traditions that you have, has ultimately had to go to the teachings of Lord Buddha. So there may be some way to differently interpret it due to your own traditions and due to your own teachers, but ultimately it is all the words of Buddha himself spoken in different ways and through different methods. That's why sometimes we have minor differences among the different traditions, but we shouldn't consider that as the main differences. That is one important point. And sorry, at the end of the Heart Sutra, there is one verse of prayer which is not here in the Tibetan or the other translations, but in Chinese translation there is one very beautiful prayer, one verse, and I feel that if we can always include that after saying the Heart Sutra, it will be so beneficial. His Holiness always mentioned about the beauty of that word. So it goes like this. The first line says, may I be able to dispel all my ignorance, and may I be able to enlighten the wisdom of the light of wisdom within light of wisdom in me. And in order to achieve the wisdom and get rid of ignorance, may all obstacles be clear, and may I be able to engage in all the great deeds of bodhisattvas. So these 4 lines. So these 4 lines, if you really think about those lines, they are really very powerful. So the first one says that may I be able to eliminate all my disturbing emotions. So it is not just a prayer, it is not just a wish or intention, but you are making a pledge, you are making a promise through the study of Heart Sutra, through the practice understanding the meaning of the Heart Sutra, after which you will be able to make yourself happy through pacifying all your emotions and through finding ways to be more happy by eliminating all the disturbing emotions that you have. something like you are able to find medicine for your illness. So that is the first line. Then in order to eliminate the disturbing emotions that are within us, in order to make them less, how can it happen? It is not, the methods, the way to do it cannot come from outside. So how you have to do it? The only way is you have to enlighten, or you have to grow, let the wisdom grows within you. So when the wisdom which is present within you grows further through your studies, through your practice, and automatically the negative emotions will go down. So that is the second line. May I be able to illuminate the wisdoms present within me. The third one is, so in order to do that, there are many obstacles. So we can consider it for an individual. Sometimes what happens is you make some kind of a small resolutions and strong determinations. Okay, I will do it. I will make sure that I will able to achieve it. But what happens is you met with some obstacles. Those obstacles make you lose your determinations, and you end up doing the same thing again and again. So that is when you walk with difficult peoples who are constantly under the influence of, for example, addictions or craving desires or angers. So it is not like those people who are suffering the addictions and the problems of loneliness, and they are not, it's not that they are not making effort. They are making a lot of effort. But when they are trying to avoid those things and trying to find ways to overcome it, they need to find the strength within them. Sometimes they need someone else to help them boost it, encourage. So they need a lot of external conditions and internal revolutions in order to make that happen. So that's why may all the obstacles be clear. That is the third line. So very important. Because back in India, those days I do have some friends who takes some kind of tobacco products. Some young of my friends, and they have this habit. They develop this habit when they are very young, because they were brought up in a disturbed environment. So now when they become grow elder, and they wanted to change their habit. So, but they say that it's so difficult to change it. And I told them, how come that you are so grown up? You have a responsible life now. Why you're continuing with such bad habits? They say that it's not that we do not want to stop it. I really have that urge. But when you start make some determinations, but it dies automatically, and you're not able to continue it. So these are the obstacles that we have. Sometimes we have internal obstacles. Sometimes we have external obstacles. So internal obstacles, we have to find internal means to get rid of those obstacles. External obstacles, we have to get rid of those external obstacles. For example, if I give you an example, in one of the texts, it is said that one way to be far, one way to run away, or what should I say, get rid of your emotions, especially the negative emotions, is not to dwell in those conditions where there is a more chance to develop those habits or those emotions. So for example, when you meet a particular individual person, and if you really feel angry, some people says, oh, I'm okay, usually I have no problem, but when I see that face, the anger comes by itself. I'm not doing it on purpose, but it is coming by itself. So they says, please keep him away from my side. So we say that in everyday's life, and that helps temporarily. So that is one method that says that you have to try to stay away from those objects or those environment which makes you unhappy or grow a certain kind of negative emotions within you. But that was the temporary first steps. Then there are more steps that has to continue after that. So what I'm trying to say now is, in order to get rid of obstacles, So we have to find both internal means and also the external means to get rid of those conditions, causes and conditions. So that was the third line. I'm still in those prayers. And the last one is, what is the purpose? For example, you want to get rid of your emotion, disturbing emotions. You say that it makes you unhappy. It really makes you suffer, right? It makes you lonely. Okay, that is the case. You want to be happy. Then what is the purpose? What will you do after that? Once you are happy, once you have everything, what are you going to do? Just lie down in your house and sleep? Or just go on an international trip? Well, what is your purpose after that? And the Bodhisattvas says that after reading this text, they said, no, that was not my intention. My purpose was to engage in the virtuous activities of Bodhisattvas. That means I wanted to help other people. I wanted to do things that can bring benefit to other people. But if I'm disturbed by myself, I'm not able to do that. Gandhiji has a saying that we have these stories, I'm sure, in Indian schools, since I was brought up in Indian schools, we have these small stories. I'm sure it may not be in your Swedish school short stories. Because once a family brought their child to Gandhiji, and because that child loves sweet a lot. In India, we have so many tasty sweets, laddu, gulab jamun, and so really, just think of it and your mouth, the water comes in. I have already here. So really, you cannot stay away from the sweets. We usually say, I have this sweet tooth. And the family, their parents becomes worried because the child is so young and she's eating so much of sweets. It may be bad for her. So they say a lot of things, but she never stops. So they thought Gandhiji is a great person. So he might have methods or skillful means to make sure that my child will listen to him. So they brought it to Gandhiji. So then Gandhiji says, wow, what's the problem? Oh, Gandhiji says, they says, oh, my child had this and this and this. So Gandhiji says, okay, bring her to me after 1 week. Huh? The parent says, really? You don't have anything to say now? No, I have nothing to say now. Please bring after 1 week. Then they waited for 1 week and they brought their child again to Gandhiji. And Gandhiji, at that time, Gandhiji gave some instruction to that girl away from their parents. And from the day after that, the girl stopped taking much of the sweets. And she was okay. The parents were astonished, surprised. What happened really? We have been working on that for so long, nothing happened. But Gandhiji spoke to their child for barely 1-2 minutes, and she listened. And they have to wait for 1 week for that to happen. What is really happening? Then they couldn't really digest what really happened. They went to Gandhiji again and asked, what you really did? Oh, I said nothing. I just told her that sweet is bad for your health. And I even didn't realize that before. I only realized it when your parents told me. So then I also stopped. So the parent says, when you came to me, I also like sweets. I myself like sweets so much. So how can I guide this young girl not to eat sweets? Because I myself like it. So then from that, I stopped the sweets. So, and try to see that whether it's possible for me to stop the sweets or not. Then I tried for 1 week and I could stay without eating sweets for 1 week. Then after that, I told her. So this is very simple technique, but it tell us that when you have that habit, when you are under the influence of those emotions, sometimes it's more difficult to help other people. Because, so in order to help other people, you need to get rid of your own habits. So that is what I meant. So therefore, in order to engage in the helping other people at a large scale, we need to have a very good heart for ourselves. That's what we were discussing yesterday. It has to start from ourselves. So first we have to give training to one's own heart, we have to learn how to be patient, to teach other people about the tolerance. We have to practice it first. So in this way, that will be very benefit. So this is all about the Heart Sutra. So this beautiful verse, may I be able to eliminate all the negative emotions. May I be able to generate the light of wisdom. And may all obstacles be clear in achieving that. And may I be able to engage in the activities of Bodhisattva. So this is a wonderful verse, which is usually recited after the Heart Sutra. So I thought that that will be very wonderful. So, so I think the environment looks a little bit tense today. I don't know what happened. Everybody looks a little bit tense. Is something wrong? Or everything is okay?
Winter is coming.
Sorry?
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming, okay. Okay, maybe the winter was coming yesterday also, not just today. Was it only today that winter came?
Maybe,
Yeah, and I thought today the sunshine is going to come and it never came. Okay, so so today also I'm really very happy to be able to share some of my thoughts, and also to continue from what we discussed yesterday. And sorry. So today we were going to discuss something different from yesterday. We touched the Lama Tsongkhapa's life story yesterday a little bit. Those who are not here do not need to worry, because we really didn't went any detail. So today I wanted to tell you that what was the major development that happened through the life stories of Lama Tsongkhapa in Tibet and all Himalayan regions. I felt that is important to share with you. So after Lama Tsongkhapa's composition of those 18 volumes of important texts, so a wave of innovations, what should I say, a wave of a change, what was the better word for English? A wave of change, sorry, improvement or change happened all over Tibet. So that was before that, Buddhism and religions is all about just praying, doing pujas, or painting your house is a little bit different, or having an altar. So people think that if you have a small altar or a gomba in your house, a puja room where you pray, that they think that it is completed. Oh, I'm a Buddhist, or I am a Christian, or I am some particular faith, because I have this gomba in my house. So we just feel that is enough. And then we invite some lamas to our houses. I'm talking about those Tibetan traditions. We do some pujas and rituals, and we thought that was okay. That was all about teachings of Lord Buddha, preservations of the teachings of Lord Buddha. But if that is the case, then Lama Tsongkhapa do not need to write so many texts. There are 18 volumes of the text that he wrote. And the great translators of Tibet in 7th century and 8th century, just think about, for example, today, we have such facilities for traveling. We can go from one part of the world to another part of the world in few hours, in planes, business class, first class, economic class, whatever. But still, sometimes you feel, oh, the journey is so long. You get tired, you get jet lag and all these things. Even today, we complain. Just then think about those times in 7th century when there is no transportations. So those translators were all Tibetan students, young students who have never been to India, who were grown up in the Himalayan mountains among the snows and water, and who wear thick clothes. They have never been to the hot India. And how, so just think about that, what the difficulties that they underwent just to go to India to study, and to study Buddhism and bring back Buddhism to Tibet. Among the over 700 students that were sent for this project in India, only 1 or 2 survived. most of them died. Many of them died on the way, crossing the Himalayan mountains. Many of them died in Nepal. And many of them who were able to make in India, but due to the climate, due to the food, many of them passed away. So it was only a handful of those students who were able to come back to Tibet after studying Buddhism and religion, the language, Sanskrit. So they're able to bring back Tibet, those great translations. So the purpose was to to translate whatever Lord Buddha's teachings exist at that time into Tibetan completely. So a few centuries after that, we saw almost, we can nowadays say 300 canons of texts were translated into Tibetan till now. So one collection of the texts has at least around 1,000 pages. At least each canons of the books contain around 1,000 pages. So such 300 volumes of those teachings were translated into Tibetan. 100 of those were directly spoken by Buddha himself, and 200 were all the commentaries written on those Buddhist teachings by different masters in India. So those were all translated into Tibetan. So these translators, masters, have worked really so hard on this text. If the Buddhism or Lord Buddha's teaching is only about some ritual, only about some meditations, or only about some small matters, then there is no need for all these 300 volumes of the text. There is not at all any necessary. For rituals, you can just page or 2 page, and that's enough. So that just tells us that those texts are not to be put up in your altar to make your room looks beautiful. They are to be taken out and to study. That is what His Holiness has been telling us for many, many years. And these texts need to be studied. So after Lama Tsongkhapa wrote the commentaries, even before that, the tradition has already started in Tibet to study in depth. But it was only after him that the real establishment of the Tibetan study module, what we call the Geshe program, has developed in Tibet at that time in early 13th century. So from there onwards, these great universities in Lhasa, for example, Sera University, Ganden University, then Drepung University, where thousands and tens of thousands of the monks are spending around 26 years, over 26 years to study those texts through debate, memorizing the root texts, then taking classes on the commentary texts. So then later doing meditations and practice, almost spending their whole life to study those important texts. So I think this is existing nowadays only in these Tibetan traditions and not at all in any other traditions that we can win French, Italian, Russian. So even the modern scholars have worked so hard, the translators, to translate this text into your own language. So this is such a great service for the preservation and also for one's own benefit. I think that European people usually are so smart. And if there is no benefit, why would you translate something with so much hard work, putting so much hard work involved in the translations? So that shows that there is some very important benefit. That's why all these translations happen. So this is what I wanted to share in relation to what we have continued from yesterday. That is one thing. And today, this one page that I've distributed you. So this page, the name of the text is The Three Principal Aspects of the Path. It's only a single page with few verses. So as everyone has a copy, you got one? There's one needed there. So this text, the reason why I wanted to go very briefly with this text is we have no time to look at the many volumes of the text written by Lama Tsongkhapa and why they are so important. But we can find the essence of all his teachings in these few lines. So let's go through this text very briefly, and in the next sessions maybe we will go very detailed about the coming points. So the three principal aspects of the path: Je Tsongkhapa, Tibetan title, Lam Jizo Namasum, homage to the most venerable teachers. So this is a typically Tibetan way of writing. So before you compose any text, we pay homage and respect to our teachers. I shall explain here to the best of my ability the essential points of all the scriptures of the conqueror. Conqueror means Lord Buddha here. The path acclaimed by all excellent bodhisattvas, the gateway for the fortunate ones aspiring for liberations. So he says that he's going to present here the three important principles, a kind of a path that we need to study and learn in order to, in some way we can say, in order to have a better life, or in order to have a happy life, ultimately to attain liberation from all liberation from your problems, from your suffering. The second line says, those who are not attached to the joys of cyclic existence, who strive to make meaningful this life of leisure and opportunity, and who place their trust in the path that pleases the conquerors, O fortunate one, listen with an open heart. So the second line tells us, please listen with an open heart. So that tells us that yesterday we were also discussing that sometimes when we go to a bookshop or something, we look at the cover and then we buy the books. And nowadays I saw that we look at the last page of the book where you have the reviews done by the different famous magazines. Oh, this is a bestseller, then you just buy it. So here is saying that no, don't do that. So read any book with open heart. And listen to any teachings or any lectures with an open heart. And then after you complete your reading or listening, then you can judge whether that's really something beneficial or not. If you feel that it is not helpful, you can just throw it away. And if it is really beneficial, then you can keep it. Or there is 14 verses here. Maybe not all 14s are not so beneficial for you, but maybe one or two may be helpful sometimes. So that also serves our purpose. So listen with an open heart. Without pure renunciation, there is no means to pacify the yearning for the joys and the fruits of samsaric ocean. And as craving for existence chain us thoroughly, at first search for true renunciations. So I wanted to say a little bit about the third line. So these lines sound a little bit too technical in some way, but what it's trying to say is to search for renunciation. It says that as a human being, we are all born with cravings and desires. We long for happiness. We long for something. So we have cravings that are within us. That is natural, that we discussed yesterday. To be born as a human, you are born with certain qualities, positive qualities, negative qualities, and we have to learn how to stay with those qualities as a part of our life. So, but some emotions which are within us, actually they hold on to you for a longer time. Some emotions or sometimes the way of your thinking actually holds on to you and to not let you freely go. Physically sometimes. It's something like if someone has chained you and imprisoned you, then you're not free to go anywhere, though you have a wish to go, but you do not have the freedom to go anywhere. So because you're physically chained to something. But for all of us, we are not physically chained. We have freedom to go anywhere. But we are all the slaves of our thoughts. So our thoughts become so important to us sometimes, and those thoughts really make us do And sometimes you can feel that, oh, the poor I'm stuck here because the other thoughts are so powerful that comes and press you down. And you are trying to get out of it, but the thoughts are still coming and pressing you down. That is something practically, right, Anila, that we all experience in our day-to-day life. So it's saying that if those are conquering you, if those thoughts are pressing you down, it is time to let go of those thoughts and look for those things which will give you more freedom. So what it is saying is that these kind of thoughts doesn't comes from skies. These kind of thoughts that really, so we face, is due to our environments. That is our misconceptions. Or we feel that, oh, this environment is making me unhappy. Oh, this is the society that is making me unhappy. Or my friends, my colleagues, or my families, they are the one really causing me problems. I wanted to go to such a place where there is none of them. So they go to the mountain. Stay there for a few days, sometimes even 1 month, and come back. And they are the same person. Nothing is changed. Short, whatever the qualities that they have, sometimes even worse than before. It happens. Because, in Tibetan, we have a saying, I think in English we have also saying, that if you die hungry, then you will be born in a ghost. So when you stay in meditating in those caves and without really studying anything, so then they stay like this. So then they think about everything. For example, they think about those people who make them angry, and they think about all the bad things about them, how I'm going to defeat them, how bad they are that they did this. So actually, they are not really meditating, thinking about all the negativities all the time. That makes it even worse. Doesn't help them. On top of that, when you are meditating, you won't get good food. Yeah, you won't get good food when you are meditating in the mountains. Who is going to come and bring you pizzas or whatever food you want? Nobody is going to offer. At least when you are with your friends, you can share your lunch or dinner or something. But in the mountains, the animals will not share. If you are really a true meditator, maybe the monkeys will bring fruits like they did for Lord Buddha and some great yogis. And if you're really a great meditator, then you don't need this kind of food, they say. You can just live on flowers, or you can just live on small stones. It's a very precious practice. But you're not really practitioners. You just want to run away from your problems. You don't want to face them. So as we discussed yesterday, not facing the problems, not being able to challenge them and just running away from them, there is no place in this world to run. And though you run, you will come back to the same place because the world is round. So the one you have to come back from the same place where you start. So you have to start all over again and again. So there is no escape route for you. That is why in Tibetan, the world is called Korwa. Korwa means round, and in Hindi it's called samsara, sansar. That means Korwa means wherever you go, you actually return to the same place again and again. There's no running away from those problems. So when you are hungry, you get even more agitated. So meditators, so when you are hungry, you get even more agitated. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are not studying, if you haven't really much, and if you just think that a short minute of meditation, so running away from the problems will solve, that's not going to happen. So that's why, yes, as we discussed yesterday, the 3 wisdoms, do you remember? That wisdoms that comes through reading and listening. And after that, the wisdoms that based on those readings and listening, the wisdom which comes out of your investigations, contemplation, meditative contemplations, looking at the facts, verifying them, we discussed yesterday. Ultimately, the facts, on those facts, you have to put into practice. You have to implement. It's not like you tell somebody else to do something, but you are not doing that. It's not a one way. You have to put into practice what comes your way. So that is the only way to achieve. So, so we were just talking about thoughts. So that yogi, that yogi, he went to the mountain and meditate, but his thoughts follow him, and he was not able to run away from his thoughts. He said, I'm talking about the negative thoughts that made him unhappy. So even if you stay in one place with all your doors and windows closed, it will come. There is no way that you can run. Because sometimes we forget that those thoughts are actually products of your own thinking, your own way of living, your own approach towards other people. How do you look at other people? When you look at other people, what is your attitude towards those people? So that gives rise to all of these thoughts. Now, scientifically speaking, science says nowadays that Buddhism, especially this one, the mind and mental factors in Buddhist texts, we always says that when it comes to the five senses, eye and ear, so eye consciousness and ear consciousness, and there is the mental thought. So when I look at an object, it look at the object, as the nature of the object. There is no exaggerations or anything. When the eye looks at this pen, when the ear hears a music or sound, or when the tongue gives a certain taste, they are just to see and hear and taste what actually that object is. Not more than that, no less. But when you look at something and you feel desire towards that you want to achieve it, you want to own it. When you look at something and when you get angry towards that and you wanted to harm that person, what happens is we are letting thoughts, we are letting the mental work behind us. You look at that object and you think about that object. So what happens is the mental thoughts are working behind that. So that gives rise to all these problems. So five senses are very good. I mean, the five senses, they are really very good senses, and they really doesn't bring any harm to us, but the thoughts. So, but thoughts are in some way, I think that if something is physical, for example, if there is a huge rock on fall from the sky in the streets of Sweden here in Stockholm, then since it is a thing, we need a lot of manpower to remove it, because it is something physical that you can withhold to. Sometimes if the problems are physical, you have to put some effort to remove it, but it's easier to remove. So there is both positive and negative being having a form or something. But thoughts are something that we cannot see. They do not have a form. If your thoughts are supposed to have forms, then it will be very funny, I think. So when I look at you, for example, so whatever is going in your thoughts, I can see, oh, this thought is going this way, or this thought is going this way, you know, see. So this is a very funny story. I think I don't want to tell here, but I think I cannot hold it back also. I have a very funny classmates back in India many years before when I go to school, and he says that because especially in summer, we one class, I think we are in a small room, maybe not even half of this hall. We are around 40 students together in a class. We have to sit tight one, and all the windows are closed because it's raining. And one of the boys, he passed wind. Do you know what I meant? You don't know? How do you say that in Swedish?
Ah, oh yeah.
Okay, so everybody got that? So then, since the windows are closed, every room is filled with this. how to run away from it? So then we don't know who did. Now that was the problem. So some says, yeah, it's you. Some say it's you. Nobody accepts. Nobody accepts that he or she did it. So my friend was so agitated. He says, we have to find some ways. Maybe in future we have to make sure that these winds come with colors or something. So when someone maybe secretly passed the wind, we will show that it comes from here, his or her side. So we will know that he or she is responsible for that action. So that was his creative ideas. And I was sharing with Zarina and Gun yesterday that another of my friend has another creative ideas. Because in India, during teachings of Dalai Lama, hundreds and thousands of people are there. If you ever happen to attend some teaching in India, for example, Kalachakra teaching, there are 400,000 people assembled at a small place. And can you guess what's the rhythm that we face? Can you guess?
Some human waste.
Yes, exactly. Toilets, we have problems. So we have lack of toilets. We have many toilets, but just think about 400,000 people and using toilets, and the teachings are a whole day because the security people won't let you. So you have to spend the whole day within the teaching ground. So going to the toilet, 400,000 people think, So my friend suggested we must introduce some solution to this. And I said, what solution do you have? We have classmates, actually, we just joke. And he says that we have to introduce a pill, a certain pill that has capacity to withhold the toilet at least for 3 hours. And our classmates, we are around 80, so we have to volunteer and bring those pills and wait at the gates with water bottles and make everyone eat one in front of us. And we give them water, and everyone who comes to the teaching at 9, they eat our pills. So teaching will finish 12, he says. So then for 3 hours, they don't need to go to bathroom because they have all taken this pill. So that pill has the potential to stop your toilet for 3 hours. You have to withhold here. So then another one says, okay, for 3 hours, okay, 9 a.m. you get that pill. So it can hold till 12. What happens at 12? All 400,000 people will come together at 12. So that will be so difficult. So this is just joke, So I mean, this is all about the thoughts, that how important the thoughts can play. So since thoughts are not physical things, in some way, they're very easy to control. If it is something physical, you need some physical force to stop it. If water is flowing, you need to force to stop it. If you just meditate, oh, may the water stop down, it won't stop. It will continue to flow, since it is physical force. So similarly, the thoughts that arises in our mind, the different kind of thoughts that arises in our mind, we have to control with another thought, thinking that these are not virtues or something. So maybe we will discuss a little bit more on this. Oh, I think the time is running. I thought to do some Q&A, but it's already 7. Hello, Mr. Chef, our dinner is ready? Okay. So going back to, I will just speak for 1 more minute with these thoughts. So when I say thoughts can be controlled easily, yesterday we discussed a little bit on this. One good way is when we have too many of positive thoughts sometimes when you feel too, what should I say, overjoyed for wrong reasons. And in Tibetan we have a saying that don't make promises when you are happy. Don't give away things when you feel generous. So later you will regret it. And in our hometown, we have another saying, which may not make any, what should I say, relevant sense here. We say that don't give away things when you are drunk. When you are drunk, okay? Because some people, they become very soft and generous when they are drunk. But usually they are very stingy. They never want to give away anything. But when they are drunk, somehow that stingy part of the mind goes down. Maybe science can do some research and prove it. When you are drunk, I'm not saying for everyone, for some people, when they get drunk, because to be stinginess, to be miser, you need to have a constant consciousness that, oh, I do not want to let go of my wealth. I wanted to store it as much as possible. So you need to have a constant concentration. But when you are drunk, you lose that concentration. So then you become very, what should I say, generous. So then you give, someone else, then you give money and everything. Tomorrow morning, when your drunkenness is over, you're waiting at the other people's door and say, please, can you return back? Because yesterday I was drunk and I was not in my right senses. So that's why sometimes when you're overjoyed, we have to use another capacity of our mind called vigilance or mindfulness. So what we have to do is we have to use the vigilant capacity of our mind and see what thoughts are arising. So if you're too overjoyed, then you have to give a signal, oh, this is not something right. You have to be cautious. Then when you are about to get angry, and as I said yesterday, when you are already angry, when the fire is already burning, there's nothing you can do. Just let it burn and let it end. But just before the fire is about to start, like the thunderstorm is there in the sky, but rain is not yet come. At that time, you can close your doors or windows to stop the rain from entering. Or you can carry an umbrella if you're walking. So similarly, when you sense the thunderstorms of your negative emotions within you, you can find some ways to control them, if not completely, but to lower the intensity or to make them rise a little bit later. So that is how we have to use. Every one of us has that vigilant capacity. We have to know how to improve that potential to know that these thoughts are arising within us. So if we practice in this way, after some days, we will be really very conscious of, we will be mindful of what thoughts are coming in our mind. We can even sense, oh, now this is coming. Now this is coming in my thought. So then you will be gradually able to get control over what you are thinking. So in that way, you will have complete control over your own thoughts. So this is all about what this third line is saying. So with pure renunciation, without pure renunciation, there is no means to pacify the yearning for joys and fruits of samsaric ocean, and as craving for existence chain us thoroughly, at first search for true renunciations. So if you are able to free from your unwanted thoughts, then you are, at least if you started to make effort to look for the real troublemakers within you, but not outside, the day that you recognize that the troublemaker is here rather than outside, then you're at least on the right map or right track, I should say. Otherwise, but you're looking at Google Map, but Google Map is bringing you round and round, just like Goon's Google Map. When we go, so we are going at one place, and the Google Map is bringing you to another place. So you're not on the right track. So that so we will stop here for dinner. It's already 7. So at 7:40, we gather back for discussion. Thank you. Hello. Yes.
Ja, du kan inte sitta här också. Jag behöver inte två stolar.
Before we resume, I just wanted to say that if anyone wants to make a donation, you can talk to either Serena. No, you can't talk to Serena. So you can talk to either me, Samaran, or Anne-Marie, who's now in the kitchen, and then we'll sort you out. Just don't talk to Serena. That's not good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So welcome back. I hope you have a nice dinner and good rest. Sorry. I think we will start with some questions if you have any. So we will have 15 minutes for a Q&A session. So please, anyone wants to ask something? Yes?
I was basically going behind the words that I saw here, so I would like to understand the deeper meaning behind it.
Yes.
So I see the lines in the first line of the second stanza that there are joys of cyclic existence.
Yeah.
And then the third line we do have cravings of existence attainment.
Yes.
So it's a bit at this moment from my own perception, it's a bit contradicting that there are cravings that are present in this existence, and there is also a joy. Do we get these joys when we surpass the moment where the cravings can be seen or observed, or is it something that needs even more practice at a higher level or a deeper level to be able to even like start seeing it?
Okay. So your first was about the first line. So joy of cyclic existence. So cyclic existence is a very technical translation. It actually means world. It doesn't mean anything else. So joys of this world, what we usually refer to as the place that where you live. So whatever joys that we have. And here joy is more towards your comforts, your pleasure. So they mean hello. Some problem. So they mean more like the temporary pleasures that we have. For example, choice of the world means what we usually call the happiness. For example, we feel that if you have a lot of money or if you have a lot of power, we feel that before that was our aim is that if you have a lot of money or power, then you will be very happy. So that's a misunderstanding of joy. So if everyone who has a lot of money or a lot of power, then if they are supposed to be happy, then we won't be able to see many sufferings. But we do. That is practical. That in this world, who are millionaires and billionaires, but many of them are taking sleeping pills to have a good sleep. So that shows that money and power doesn't bring happiness. So that kind of joy, which we feel that those temporary joys that we experience in our day-to-day life, this is what we meant by the joy of the world. But those are not permanent or the real joy that we wish to achieve it. So you got my first point. Now the second one is craving for existence means craving here actually means to wish to have something and to crave for something So then it is more connected with desire to achieve that. So, for example, there are some things that we cannot get, not everybody can achieve in this world. For example, whether it is economic issues or whatever facilities that we wish, but there are many things that we cannot achieve in this world. But when people have cravings, they thought that they can get it. And when they do not get it, they find wrong means to get it. For example, robbing someone or extortions, corruptions, all the problems that we have in this world, shortcut way to get some happiness, what they call happiness. So that is craving for existence. You're craving, you have that urge and desire to achieve that particular form of existence that you want in your life. That is called craving for existence. So when you crave for something that actually binds you, that craving acts like a chain which actually binds you and do not let go of anything. That makes you feel suffer, that makes you feel lonely all the time, and unless you are not able to let go of the craving. And one example we can take is, craving, we can take example as a hot iron. So we all know hot iron is, so hot iron can be really hot. You cannot hold with your hand. So what we say is craving is actually a very beautiful form of hot iron. What we are doing at present, when we have craved for something for very strong, we are holding the hot iron with our hand and we are experiencing the suffering. But we are not letting go of it. Though we know that this is really making you suffer, but you are not able to let go of it. The only way is until you let go of it, the problem will not go. It will continue to come again and again. So that's why craving is such a thing that very beautiful, and it sometimes we feel that it helps us achieve something, make us more happy, but that's the opposite thing that happens. That was craving, because when we have strong craving or desire towards something, as we discussed yesterday, a lot of exaggeration is involved, which is beyond reality. That is when we started to have problems. Okay, any other questions? We have some time.
If you have cravings,
Yes.
you should avoid contact, or should you try to avoid being in touch with the objects that you crave?
Yes.
Or should you practice to be in contact with them, or how should you deal with it?
Usually when you have a craving, I think just to stop contact with the object, it may be a temporary solution, but the more solution will be understanding how craving arises within you and find ways to achieve the object without having too much crave for it. So, so that is one way to look at it. But if you, when you started to have craving for something, if you just stop contact with that object, so that won't be so practical, because we want to have, as a human being, we need to have many things in life. For example, if you need to be in a relationship, or if you need to have possessions of some material things, or even in or whatever we do in as a human being, there are many things that we need as a part of our life. But we can have those things for ourselves. We can have those things for ourselves without much craving towards those things. So when too much craving is involved, then what happens is we do not become contented with what we have, and then we walk towards achieving more and more. So that let us suffer. So that is the same thing with wealth. A lot of problem that we have in nowadays. So first you wanted to be, we have these beautiful expressions where there was a man who has nothing and who was walking, and he saw someone with a bicycle, and he just thought, oh, how good it will be if I have a bicycle. Then the bicycle was looking at someone who has a motorbike, and he was thinking, my bicycle is nothing, but how good it will be that I can have a motorcycle. So he's craving for that. And the guy with the motorcycle was craving for someone with a car. And the car was craving for someone with a plane or house and house with. So there is no end in our cravings. It can grow as much as you let it grow. That is the biggest problem with the desires. That is the biggest problem with the desire and anger. So both of these can grow beyond measure, beyond limits. If you let it, if you do not control it, it will grow forever. So your need is only this much, your craving is this much. And but your possibility to achieve that object is only limited. If you have the means and if you have the real potential to achieve everything, okay, there is no harm in being crave towards your life or what you want. But the way you walk and the way you do not have that potential to achieve everything. But if you keep on having that craving, then it will make you frustrated. Because that is the what should I say, the responsibilities of these desires. Their responsibility or the function is to make you suffer, to make you always look for something that you really do not need. So that is, they are doing their job, and we become slave of those feelings. And that's what I feel. And anyone else? Yes.
Sorry if this is perhaps a stupid question, but with the true renunciation, sometimes it feels like you can get a craving for teachings, or craving for kind of progressing on the path, and it's hard to know how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you still feel that you're doing something good and you should continue doing it.
Craving again here, I think, is maybe we should again make it clear about negative craving and positive cravings. So generally, craving is a kind of negative, but sometimes, as I was telling you before, a wish to have something may not be craving, but it's only a wish that you wish to have that thing, may not be craving. So there is a difference between these two. So if it is something good for you, and if it is something achievable, for example, as you say, you feel to renounce with all these worldly things that really makes you suffer in problems, and you wanted to find another way to achieve happiness for you. And if you know that that path is something good for you and something really meaningful, then the wish to have that is not craving. That is a good intention. That is a good wish, good will to have that. I don't think that is a craving at all. So do not mistake every wish for cravings. So they have some similarities, but they are not entirely same. As a human being, as I said before, we need to have some positive desires. We need to have some positive will to do something and wish. So we shouldn't be mistaken. So when we say to renounce, that doesn't mean that you stop everything and go. That's not the meaning. Okay.
Follow-up question on that. You would say positive craving, especially it's hard to identify
Yes.
positive and negative ones. So one side, but let's say we are realistic about it, and then you see that as progress, then you want to progress from one place to the other. If I take the example of walking, it starts with the bicycle and then motor, and eventually getting bigger and bigger. But that could be seen in today's world as a progress, and someone who is following passion, and passion by the word itself means to suffer, but it is
Definitely.
a bit hard to understand, I guess, to decouple these things and start thinking deeper into that.
Yes. Sorry, I mean, I didn't make very clear about the metaphor. So the metaphor actually means general way of humans' behavior. So humans' behavior or humans' approach towards life. It is natural for human to look for something better and bigger when you have a smaller. When you can be contented with a smaller thing, but you still aspire for something bigger. So that's what I meant by metaphor. But generally, to aim for to have something better, that is passion, as you say. That is something right. What we meant is, if you do not have the capacity to achieve those things, or you know your situations, you know your ground realities, and though you know your ground realities, but still you crave for something which is impossible for you. You know that by these cravings and those things, it will make you suffer more. For example, in life, of course, everybody wants to have a lot of money, a lot of powers, but that particular individual knows that I'm very happy now. So if I really work hard, I can earn a lot of money. But he knows that will that earning makes him a better person or more happy? There is no guarantee with that. So just looking at for a better facility or those things is not craving at all. It's never craving. So craving actually lets you wish more than what you really want. So there is an exaggeration involved with that. Yeah, as you say, it's not easy to identify it. It's not so easy to look for it. In very simple language, it's something like you just when you go on walk on a street, you look at things, surroundings, and you just feel, oh, I should have that also. I should have that also. I should have this also. So craving. If you take an example, the relationship problems that we have, those are actually a result of craving. So there are some things, some areas where craving for something else when you already have something is negative, that we can make it out. So these are examples, but generally it's not so easy to distinguish between these two thoughts. Yes?
But when you talk like that, then can it be a little bit like it's a way instead of just accepting how it is now, you just have this thing your mind always want more different things or be occupied.
Yes.
It makes it occupied also, When you got this one thing, then you can starts to think of something else. It's also the mind making up new things all the time.
Yes.
Kind of occupation.
Yes.
So you don't really relax in yourself, Instead of
it's also something like that. So craving is usually related with, as we discussed before, various letting your thoughts come by itself without really paying attention how it comes through your mind, and whether it makes you when you have a craving, if it really makes you a better person or makes you happier, it's worthwhile to have that craving or that desire. But that desire, if it ultimately lets you to suffer, then we don't want ourselves to suffer or have problems. So that is something to be avoided, I feel. Okay, so we will try to finish this. Time is running out. So I won't go through detail of this. My actual intention was not to do all these lines, but just read quickly. And when there is some important thing, we can comment a little bit on it. So so that was about the third line. Fourth, then by cultivating in mind that this human life is so hard to find, yet has no time to spare, preoccupations with this life will cease. By contemplating repeatedly the truth of karma and samsaric suffering, preoccupations with next life will come to cease. Now, this is totally speaking from Buddhist point of view, but generally, if we can contemplate in this way, that the precious human lives that we have now. So, as we discussed a few days back about the impermanence nature of our life. So, whether one believes in any religion or not, whether we believes in the next life or the previous life or not, but it is 100% confirmed that the life that we have will last not more than 100 years. For example, generally, maybe as Sweden's, as I used to say, you have very clean air and water. Okay, we all live for 200 years, but not more than that, right? So we cannot live more. It's very difficult. So when you look from that point of view, so life is quite short. 100 years, 200 years. In some way, it's very long. A larger part of that life, for example, we live for 80 years. Let's be practical. That's how long we live nowadays. So 80 years life. How many of those part you have spent as a child? Maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 years. In case of our Tibetan traditions, even 12. So those years, you've been brought up in such a way by your parents, you don't know how to walk, you don't know how to think. So a major part of your life has been spent in this way. You haven't been able to do anything that you want. Then after that, you spend it with school educations and all these things. We let our brain grow. Another maybe 5, 10 years, then you're already in your 20s, right? So then maybe if you live very healthy life, it's okay. But if life is not so healthy, then when we become age, it's something that we have to accept. We have problems with our age. So we may not be able to do everything that we wish to do when you reach that. So even 80 years lifespan, if you look from that point of view, it's not so long. The real life that you live is not that long. So that is one fact. We all agree. I'm sure you all agree with me. Second thing is that sometimes it's horrifying to think of it, but that's really a fact. It is 100% confirmed and sure that will come someday for all of us. We cannot avoid that. And even if you do not want to discuss about it, but it will come. It won't spare you. You cannot say, oh, I don't want to talk about it, please don't come. But it will come anyway. That is 100% sure. So that is confirmed, it will come. But the biggest problem is we are not sure when it will come. The exact timing, when it comes, we are not sure. You know in Sweden when the winter comes. You know when your darkness are coming. So that's why you're getting ready for it. You have houses heated. So because you know the winter is coming. If we know that something or someone is coming at the exact or right time, then we can prepare for it. But we never know when the death is coming. So unless we never prepare for it, or we have to be always prepared for it, there's two choices. So if you are never prepared for it, then if it comes suddenly, then it will be a big problem. So you thought that you have a long life. Then suddenly if you are diagnosed with some incurable disease or something, if you make with an accident, so those few moments before your death will be very terrifying, frustrating. So that few moments will be very fearful. I'm not frightening you. That is something fact that we all know. It will come to me. It has come to everyone. So there is no exceptions. So that is something that so if you are not prepared for it, we're going to suffer again. There is a problem. So the best way is you have to prepare for it. If you are well prepared, then when it comes, you may be more ready for it. You may not undergo that much sufferings or mental problems when it happens. Even if you have some physical problems, but that won't be so much difficult if you are prepared for it. So then how can we prepare for it? So that is, the preparation has to come on daily basis, thinking about that. It can come today, it can come tomorrow, it can come anytime. So if you have hurt someone, for example, if you have hurt someone and really fight with that friend, it's time to say sorry to them. Don't wait for years and months, but tell them sorry. I'm sorry, I've done this, so let's be friends again. Life is short. We never know what happens. So these are the few ways of living your life in a very meaningful way. We have one a monk in our monastery. So when he passed away, of course, a very strange things happens. And the few days before he passed away, he sold all of his things, and there were few people to whom he owes money. He went to them and returned all their monies, and give it back to them, and he hugged them and said, "Thank you for everything. So now we may not meet again." So he actually sold everything, and whatever money or something left, he offered it to the monastery or to other people, and he was actually preparing for his death. Nobody paid much attention to him. They thought that he is a kind of little unsound mental problem. He acts very weird. But he thought that we are all very weird. His perception was that. He thought that we are all very weird. We are something like nothing is going to happen. So he was prepared for it. Then after a few days, he passed away. And when he passed away, there was a smile on his face. There was no anxiety, no fear, no shouting or nothing. He just passed away peacefully in his meditation. So I'm not talking about next life. I'm not talking about previous life. We're just concentrating on this life. So to spend this very life in a very meaningful way, there are many ways we can do. So thinking about death is not discouraging you. It is actually a very nice way to lead your life in a meaningful way. If you have resentments towards someone, this will make those resentments go down. So if you want to do something good for other people, don't wait. Do it immediately or as soon as possible. Don't say that maybe now I'm working, now I'm studying, so when I'm settled, or when I'm retired, I will then do that. Don't wait for that. Who knows whether that time will come or not. So always, if there is something that you really want to do to help other people, to be of some benefit to others, to really be friend with someone, increase your friend circles, the moment is there. We have to make use of that moment anytime, and we should never wait for another flight. We never know that flight will come or not. So this tells us about this. Which line we were reading? The fourth one. Yeah. This life is ceased, So in this way, if we think that the human life is so precious, in some way, if you think the human life, our human life, sometimes I feel really animal lives are sometimes better in some way. Because you see, they do not have so much sufferings as we do, mental sufferings, I mean. And when they are born, it's not a big suffering for their mothers and their parents. They can just look for their own food, just go away. But human babies, I don't know why, they need to be really taken care of so much. For so many years, we have to make sure that they don't fall down here, they don't fall down here. So much care has to be taken for humans. So, I mean, our parents have really worked day in and out. They are not getting time to eat. They are not getting good sleep in the looking after that child. And when that child becomes a man or woman, an adult, if that child do not live his or her life in a meaningful way, what is the use of all this effort? It's all waste of energy, I feel, waste of time. Because to brought up human beings, so many other humans have to involve and waste their time in some way. It's not like it's not like animals. We depend on a lot of other human beings for our survival in day-to-day life. And if we become so selfish that if you are okay, if you are happy, if you have something, then that's really a very irresponsible thing. That's what I feel. I do not mean to discourage, but that is a fact that we have. So number 5.1, as you habituate in this way, and when not even an instant of admiration arises for the prosperity of cyclic existence, and when the thought aspiring for liberation arises day and night, at this true point renunciation arises. Okay. So next one, such renunciation too, if it is not sustained by pure awakening mind, it will not become a cause of the perfect bliss of unexcelled enlightenment. Therefore, O intelligent ones, generate the excellent awakening mind. So this seems very technical, but what it tells you is that once you realize that your human life is precious, once you realize that your human life is so precious, you wanted to spend it in the right way. You have all this potential, capacities to do something. At that point, if you do not generate a mind with a wish to help other people, and if you instead become very selfish, then it says there is no meaningful to be a human. If why you should how can you look back at yourself, and if you ask the questions whether what is the purpose of this life then, if it is only meant for yourself. So even animals, they are self-sustained. Even the tiniest, look at the small ants or flies, they are self-sustaining. There's nothing amazing about that, to be self-sustained. We cannot be very proud that, oh, I live on my two legs and I don't need to rely on any people. And if you started to behave in that way, I think there's nothing that distinguish you from the rest of the species. You're even worse than animals in some way, if you look from that point. So that's why you says, as a human, you have some capacity to be more benefit to other people in whatever means. And when we say benefit to other people, it doesn't not necessarily mean strangers, but even without your own circles. If you are able to help a stranger, of course, that's the best thing. If that is not possible, if your compassionate cannot cover so much area, but at least you must live in harmony with your surrounding peoples, your own communities, or whoever you meet on the way. As His Holiness always says, if you smile to someone, there is 90% of getting a smile in return. That is quite sure. But some people, they may not return back. Return is okay. So you don't consider as your smile as waste. It's not waste, because 90% you are getting profit. So if you smile at someone, definitely you will be smile back. So just smiling doesn't cost you anything. If you have a bad teeth, maybe you might have to hide and you can smile. Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything. So that's why, so when we speak about helping other people, don't confuse it with very large scale activities or large scale. Don't lose your inspirations. So just by walking on a street, we can be very generous. We can be helping other people. If there is someone who needs to cross the streets, if you help them, that is an act of generosity. But ultimately it will help you. When you go to bed at night and think of what you did for the daytime, when you recollect those thoughts again in your mind, how happy you will be. You, as I said 2 days before, you get another opportunity to rejoice, to feel overjoyed with what you did. The action you did is only one action, but you're gaining double benefits. You're able to feel joy 2 times for one action. So that's so benefit. That is a win-win business, win-win situation for all of us. So I think don't wait for some special moments, or maybe don't wait for some special days or dates to practice compassion or kindness. So you can start from right away. You can start from anywhere that you want, and especially those who are in needs. All over the world, there are many people who are in need of our compassions. They do not have the advantages that we have. So especially for those needs, it's more beneficial. We have a saying that, for example, there is a young student who's really in need of $100 for his school fees. He's really in need. If he do not get that $100, maybe he's not getting admission to school. So he's going here and there and asking everyone for help, and he's not getting anything. So at that time, if you help him or that her with that $100 tuition fees, he or she will never forget your kindness. But if you continue that same act to another person who is well off, who do not have their needs, and if you go and help him, that person may get another thought. Why is he giving $100 to me? Does he have some intention to get more money from me? Oh, so all those thoughts, So what I'm trying to say is your act of kindness is same, but to whom you give, at what time you give make a difference. So always choose those who are most in need of your kindness. And everybody in this world needs kindness. We all need kindness. Without kindness, we cannot survive. Kindness is compassion, and kindness is the, foundation of our happiness. It is the medicine which will reduce all the problems, mental problems that we have. It will reduce anger. It will reduce hatred. It will reduce jealousy. It will reduce pride. So that a mere action of small actions will make you a very happy person. And I'm sure that those of you, if you have some problems getting a good sleep, some people have always disturbed sleep. And if you engage in such kind of generous or such kind of activities, and if you recollect that before going to bed, definitely it will help you get a better sleep. That is for sure. So that's why it says always generate the excellent awakening mind. So number 7, they are being swept away constantly by 4 powerful rivers. They are bound tightly with fetters of karma, most difficult to escape. They are trapped inside the iron mesh of self-grasping. They are enveloped from everywhere by thick mass of ignorance. They take birth within cyclic existence. There is no end, where they are endlessly tormented by 3 sufferings. By reflecting on all your mothers who suffer such conditions, please generate supreme awakening mind. If you do not have the wisdom realizing the ultimate nature, even if you gain familiarity with the renunciation awakening mind, you will not be able to cut the root of samsara existence. So strive in the means of realizing Tibetan origination. So now, these 3 lines, what it tells us is that from a Buddhist point of view, we are supposed to look at all other people as our mother, as our sister, as our brother. So the mother's compassion for her child, we discussed about that yesterday. It may be a biological factor in some way. A mother's compassion or love for their children, sometimes it may be related to desire because it is bias. In some way, it is a kind of bias because we are not able to generate the same affection for everyone. Sometimes you can be very angry towards someone else, but very compassionate towards another person. That is possible, right? So what we are doing is we are actually opening only a small door of our compassions. Our compassion is filled in our heart, but we are only opening a small window because you're feeling cold, the wind is very cold outside. So you're opening a small window and let the light of compassion pass only to a one person. If you open all, it will cover everyone. So, but that's not what we do. Instead, what we are doing is we are opening the other side of our heart, which is the negative things, open everything. So even to strangers, sometimes we feel anger towards strangers. So sometimes we feel hatred towards our what is so-called enemies. And among all that, as I been emphasizing you for a long time, harboring resentment, I feel I myself have that practice. I myself have that experience, to harboring resentment in your heart for a long time. It's so painful. For example, when you have a fight or some problem with an individuals, so that problem is solved in 1 or 2 ways. But then in your heart of heart, you bury it. You always think about that. And every day when you think, actually it eats your compassion. it kills your happiness. So that other person do not know whether it really harms that person or not. Can you tell me, when you get angry at another person, does it really affect the other person or not?
Say something not
No,
so
no, no.
nice to me.
Yeah, yes. If you say something bad things to him, maybe it may affect him, it may harm him, or you think that can make a difference. For example, can you get angry to a person without that person not knowing it? Yeah,
The politics.
you can get it right. So when you get angry to another person who is completely far away and he or she is not even aware whether you're getting angry at that person or not. But that moment of getting angry is actually harming you, that is for sure. So it's actually not entirely harming that other person. And if you say a bad word to that person, when you say that bad person, you have bad intention. The motivation is not there. You have a negative motivation. It harms you more. So when you say bad things to the person, what guarantee is there that that person will feel bad? He may just smile back at you. Okay, he will know that you are such a short-tempered person. So he or she may forgive you, but you are at a loss.
Then you just
Yeah. I mean, so when you look for these other methods, so you are actually letting your anger grow, stay in your mind stream forever. So I mean, these are just few examples that really, harms both party, and it actually harms you more than the other party. So it is always wiser not to be angry all the time. Now the number 9 ones. So strive in the means of realizing Tibetan originations. So this is what we have been willing to discuss today about what do we mean by Tibetan origination. Origination tells us that there is no time to go very deep, but generally it is something that we all can make. It is something that everybody can understand. It's common sense that as a human being, we are called social animals. We have to live in a community. So science research, if you look at the evolution stories, how human being came into being, how they started to live in groups. So when you, if you look at the evolution theories and how the great animals extinction happened in this world, like dinosaurs and all those things, and there's few animals that has been able to withstand all those problems and still exist. One of them is cockroach. And science says that the cockroach exists millions of years before, but many others, bigger species animals, due to the changes in the climate and the environment and elements, they cease to exist. So the greatest risk even we as a human being face now is our survival. So in order to survive, what you have to do? The best option for survival is sitting in groups, staying as a group, as a community. When you stay as a community, so when someone, though as an individual you may not have the capacity to be self-reliance, but the community helps you from somehow. That is practical in today's world that we all can understand. So when you stay in a community, you stay in reliance upon another person. You rely on other person. So as a social animals, we have to do that. So we depend upon other people's help. And as we discussed before, when we are born in this world, from the first moment onwards we are born, we actually rely on other people for our survival. If our parents have not taken care of us when we are born, maybe for 1 hour, maybe we couldn't survive. Can you agree? I'm sure. I'm talking about humans. So we are relying entirely on other people. So now in Sweden, sometimes you may feel that, oh, you have better economy, you have a better job, so you earn your food and everything. So just think about where does the rice that you eat comes from. Just think for one moment. And where does the mushroom that you eat comes from? Yeah, sometimes just if we become a little bit more practical, for example, the rice that you eat may be coming from India. It is possible. Yeah. So if India stopped rice, if rest of the world stopped sending rice to Sweden, you may have to eat only bread, potatoes. Yeah, and okay, so you cannot live your whole of life eating potatoes. Potatoes for breakfast, potatoes for lunch, and potatoes for dinner. And maybe after 10 years, all Swedish people looks like potatoes. So I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just so what I'm trying to say is, in our day of life, many of the activities, small activities that we really do not pay attention, but many of those things actually comes through other people's help. But we feel that we pay some money and we feel that you own them. You never think about how it comes. Your mind is never wanted to go a little bit further. And I don't know how many of you have seen a rice paddy field. If you have happened to see a paddy field, how difficult it is to grow rice. So if you look at all those things, so just a bowl of the rice in front of your table on your plate, how many humans are involved to make this possible for us? At least hundreds. And it is the same case with everything. And now we have electricity here. Maybe how many people are involved to make sure that Ishinobu Center has a continuous electricity flow? We never pay attention, but it is involved. So this all tells us that we have to be dependent upon other people. So when you know that you are dependent upon other people, you will generally feel respect towards other people. You feel that you're not different from them. You're just one, but others are millions. So it's not just talking from an unrelated point of view. We are talking about science, talking about correlation between our existence. Without them, I cannot survive. So then, how can I be so selfish that I only think for myself, but I let go of all the other people's? Whatever happens to the other people, you don't care. How is that possible? From thinking from a common sense, it is something that even a 5-year-old child can think. That do not make much sense. So this is dependent origination. So if you realize that we are all dependently originate in this world, then we will generate respect towards each other. So more harmonious towards our human beings. Our attitude towards other people will change. So good things to you comes from other people, but bad things also comes from other people. Because as I said yesterday, to get angry, you need the help of other people. You have to get angry at someone else. Usually you don't get angry at yourself. So to fight, you need the help of other people. How can you fight yourself? That doesn't make much sense. And to say bad things, if you're very good in saying bad things, but you need someone to say. You cannot just close your door and say for yourself. So bad things also happens with the help of other people. Good things also happen with other people. So other people are actually very important in so many ways. So that's why we have to remember one important point here, that you are one and others are a million. So looking at the numbers also, which is more important than one is important or million. So that is a little bit common sense understanding. So when you know that your very existence is depending upon other people, this is all about emptiness. So emptiness, when Lord Buddha taught about emptiness in the Heart Sutra that we read, we don't need to use very difficult terminologies. But what it really tells is there is a difference between appearance and reality. What things appear to you may not be reality, especially when it is involved with mental exaggerations that we have been discussing for the last 2 days. So things may appear very attractive, things may appear very hostile. When you are angry, things appear very hostile. When you are under influence of attachment, things appear very beautiful. So those appearances are not real, not the reality of that object. There is a difference between the reality of that object and the appearance. It is something like you have beautiful packaging, and external it's written a gold, for example, inside you have a golden cup, for example, just think. Inside you have a golden cup, but the packaging is so bad. Packaging is so bad, but when you look at the outside packaging, you cannot make out what is inside. So we shouldn't get carried away by outside packagings. So packaging can be attractive, but inside you may find something else. Packaging may look very bad, but inside you may get a golden cup. So we never know. So that's why emptiness, Lord Buddha tells us that do not go after what you see or what appears to you. You must give it a second thought, whether that is the reality or not, whether what things appear to you is the ultimate nature of that thing or not. So if we started to look at things in this way, then gradually attachment, the arising of desire and attachment will decrease in us. Anger will also decrease. And as I said yesterday, when you get angry at someone else, the 90% of that person's appearance is mental exaggerations. That is evident. When your anger dies down, you really feel so sorry. You go to that person and say, I'm so sorry I did that to you because I was angry. I didn't know that. So that shows that it was not reality. So empty means empty of reality or empty of, so if you look at a person as a very hostile, the hostility nature of that person as it appears to you is empty of its existence. So these are very technical terms, but what it really says is the nature is empty. In reality, it is not that hostile. The object by itself is a neutral state. The way you look at it becomes so hostile. For example, we can have a common individual, for example, Mr. Tenzin. So some people, when you have a Mr. Tenzin here, so Tashi may be very angry at Tenzin, right? So Tashi considered Tenzin as his enemy. At the same time, Sonam is the best friend of Tenzin. So you have one individual who is Tenzin here, but there is someone here who really considered Tenzin as his best friend. And there's another one who considered Tenzin as his worst enemy. So when the person who considered Tenzin as his best enemy, his appearance of the Tenzin appears very hostile to him when he gets angry. But at the same time, for Sonam, Tenzin appears so sweet and so lovely person and so beautiful. But Tenzin is one person. He do not have two identities. He only have what he has, not more than that, not less. But how does it is possible that he appears so hostile to one person, or he appears so beautiful to another person? So from objective side, from Tenzin's side, there's nothing. But it's all in the mind of those people who look at him. So that shows that the way our mind look at the thing, the appearance of that object to that particular mind, and the reality of that object, there is a huge difference. So emptiness says that if we know that there is a difference between reality and emptiness, reality and appearance, then we understand emptiness. And we will have no problem. And also expectations versus reality. When you expect something, You expect it to be so good. You expect it to be so. Sometimes our expectations grow and grow and grow, but reality may be different. So there is a gap between our expectations and reality. We need to have a strong expectations, but we need to have stop our expectation at a certain level. If the expectation continues to grow every day, it will go out of your brain one day then. So then it will be a big problem. So that's why we have to stop those things. As we discussed before, positive desire. It's good for you. But if you take it more than necessary, then it will bring more harm than a benefit. So this differences about, so when we understand the Tibetan nature of the things, that whatever that we do, it happens due to dependent upon other people, and the difference between appearance and reality. So we understood emptiness. So this is all about emptiness, whether we use different terminology or not. So verse number 10. When with respect to all phenomena of samsara and nirvana, you see that cause and effects never deceive their laws. And when you have dismantled the focus of objectification, at that point you have entered the path that pleases the Buddha. So cause and effects never deceive their laws. So cause and effect never deceive their laws. It means that it is the natural phenomena, natural of the thing, that when you plant a seed of orange, an orange tree will grow. So that is natural law. So the law of science, you can say. So when you plant a orange seed, and if apple grows, then it's a little problem with science. It is not possible, right? So that is, if you plant the seed of happiness within your heart, the result of happiness, fruit will grow in you. You will be happy. That is science and natural. If you plant the seed of happiness and if you suffer, then that is against the law. So which says that it's never going to happen. If you are unhappy, then you are sowing the seeds of unhappiness within you. If you are happy, then you have sowed the seeds of happiness before. So just at our present state, we can see whether I'm happy or not. So if the problem comes, then you can just infer through reasoning that you might have done something that makes you unhappy. Don't look at others, just yourself. That if you do something good now, so that will definitely make you happy. These are the law of natures. So which will law of natures that can never go wrong. So that's why always remember that if you are kind, if you practice compassion and kindness, never ever you need to have ever doubt that out of your practice of compassion you will be suffer. You will never suffer. So if that happens, then it is time to close everything and go somewhere else, because this is against the law of nature. So that is what it means. So long as the true understanding of appearance, which is undeceiving the dependent origination, and emptiness devoid of all this remains separate, so long you have not realized the intent of sage. However, at some point when without alternation at once, the instant you see that dependent origination is undeceiving, if the entire object of grasping at certitude is dismantled, at that point your analysis of the way is culminated. I think it's okay. Furthermore, when appearance dispel the extreme of existence, and when emptiness dispel the extreme of non-existence, and if you understand how emptiness arises as cause and effect, you will never be captivated by view grasping the extremes. Thus, when you have understood as they are the essentials of the three principal aspects of path, O son, seek solitude, and by enhancing the power of perseverance, swiftly accomplish your ultimate aspirations. So I don't want to go to detail with other lines. So what it really tells us is that three principal paths. First, we need to start understanding what is reality, and later to the practice. So if you engage in those practice, then you will achieve happiness at the end of your practice. So to summarize what we have been discussing for last few days, what it tells us is that for any kind of what we have learned from our discussions is that any kind of investigations, any kind of experiments that we want to do with our life, always do it with open heart. And so it is very important to first generate as much awareness as possible, take wisdom, listen to many people, great scholars, read as many books as possible, and find ways, learn how to be happy. So look for resources. Don't close your doors at home and just wait for happiness to come from sky. It's never going to come. So that's why first study as much as possible, read different books, traditions. What we discussed yesterday, the second wisdom, then see which one makes more sense. You have collected a lot, then you can just throw away what you don't want and create your own diary with special advices or special principles for your life. Maybe the special principle that I have maybe differ from you, maybe differ from you. Every individuals have different mindsets. So we may need different medicines. There is no universal medicine that will be helpful for each and everyone. So we may have to come up with one's own curriculum. So once you are sure that that is going to help me, that is something beneficial for you, then you have to practice it. And the act of compassion doesn't really mean just doing some physical way. You need to have that kind of thinking. Your heart needs to have that quality of compassion. It's not just about talking or you just go out in the streets and help someone. So that kind of helping hand has to come from your thinking. So that's when the compassion becomes a part of your life. So in this way, it will be helpful. So in last few days, it has really been a wonderful time for me here, and I'm so happy to be at Ishinarbu Center. And I wanted to thank the center director Martin La and all the members, and also to all of you for coming here. And I hope that whatever that we have exchanged in the last few days will be of some benefit. So if you think that there is even a little bit of benefit, please share the wisdom, what you have heard and what you experience. It is so important that in modern time, we like to share a lot on Facebook and Instagrams. So, but sometimes share your own experiences with your friends. So here we are 20 people, but if 20 people share to another 20, it becomes 40. That's how we multiple happiness. So happiness can be also multiplied in that way. So by a mere act of your kindness. So wisdoms, if you share your money, maybe it decreases. So I'm not asking you to share your money, but share your wisdom, share your kindness, it will grow. So the more you share, the more it grows. So it's good for you and everyone. So that's my request for you. And so ultimately, I wanted to thank each and everyone for making this event possible. And a lot of effort has been put into to make this possible to each and everyone. I don't need to name each and everyone. So thanks from my deep of heart for this. And so at the end, we will do a short dedication. So for a moment, please come with me. And so whatever the merits or whatever the positive energy that we have accumulated in this last few days through our discussions, through our understanding, through our meditations. So may we all pray that so may all the sentient beings have happiness and do not have any sufferings. And also all the sufferings that are happening in this world, all over the different parts of the world, may those sufferings cease to, may those sufferings stop and ceases. And may all the human beings from different cultures and religions stay together as brothers and sisters. May peace and prosperity spread all over the world. And may the teachings of the Lord Buddha and Lama Tsongkhapa help as many sentient beings as possible. And may all of you also have long life and happiness in your life. And may all of you have a very healthy life ahead. and may all you be able to benefit as many sentient beings as possible. Thank you.